Hi, I'm Linda Vater, and I'm delighted to be partnering with Homeworthy to bring you into the garden, one of my favorite and I think most meaningful places to spend time. You may remember my tour of our Oklahoma City cottage, where my signature style first found a wider audience on the Homeworthy channel. My gardens reflect a mix of classic structure and cottage charm, shaped by years of hands-on experience, a lot of mistakes, and a deep appreciation for beauty in every season. Together, we'll explore timeless ideas, practical tips, and inspiration to help you create a garden that feels truly like home. Join me in living a garden-inspired life.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Well, we've been going around the world showing you different garden tours, but now I'm back in my own neighborhood. Phil, I'll give you a virtual hug. This is my friend Phil Clayton. He lives just a block from me in an absolutely beautiful home that I have some history with, because before you moved in, I helped the previous owners a little bit with some of the stuff in their backyard. So it's always fun to revisit a landscape and see how it has evolved and transformed over time. Now, Phil is a great gardener, and he does most of this himself, though he, like me, sometimes relies on some mutual friends of ours, John Fluid at Garden Designs, to help a little bit with some of the structural components and just to bounce ideas off of. But Phil, tell us a little bit about how long you've lived here. And
I've been here 12 years, and the house, I mean, really didn't need the yard itself was beautiful, but after a period of time, you tend to make things your own. Yeah. And so I, year after year, I've kind of pulled some things, added some things. As any gardener knows, you try some things work, and you keep them, and then you abandon some things. But it's been about 12 years of evolution. Yeah. And
everything that dies just presents a new opportunity.
There it is. So, there's a new space to plant something.
A new space. So Phil's front yard, like mine, really has evolved a little bit over time. So you were telling me earlier that you extended a narrow bed along this east side.
That's right. We just kind of pulled, this was pulled out about 3 or 4 feet. Of course, this has grown, the elm has grown, I'm sorry, this is a maple. The maple's grown quite a bit over the last few years. So we went ahead and pulled this out because what was in there, what we were trying to plant, was getting pretty choked out. Yeah. And then extended this out here. So
this is a brilliant solution. And I don't know, have you ever had trouble growing grass here?
Yes. These are hungry trees. Yes. And I, for a long time, struggled with the magnolias, and they just looked spindly and sad. And this is probably the best they've looked in 10 years, because I found a guy that told me what I needed to do. We've been really over-fertilizing them a little bit more than I had, and they look much better this year.
Stuart, can you walk towards the magnolias a little bit, because it's kind of hard to tell behind this fabulous maple. How old would you estimate this maple is, Phil?
At least, I would say at least 40. Yeah. About 40 years old.
You can see there's a backdrop and a nice living fence between you and your neighbor to the east. And they're beautifully maintained and cared for. And then what is this interesting, I get a real tropical vibe here, Phil. What's this interesting sinewy tree?
This one here, this is actually a plum.
Is it really?
Yeah, and for a long time, they kept trying to stake it up so that it would be straight. And every time John or his guys would come out, I would take it away. And so I like the form where it has a bit of a windswept form. I think it's kind of sensual, actually. And so I've kind of been cutting and nipping on this for 10 years, shaping this. But yeah, that's what it is. It's just a little plum.
Well, Phil, you and we share many of the same predilections. We're really into shape and form and trees and potted specimen and limbing things up and exposing the beautiful trunks and the limbs of the trees itself. So that's why.
So how they would present themselves in nature without being too disciplined.
And it tells a story when you say it looks kind of windswept. And you can exaggerate that storyline with judicious pruning.
That's right. Just a couple little snips can change everything.
So tell us here a little bit more about what you have planted in the foreground.
This was added. These of course are tropicals and won't make it. But John, they wanted to do some tropical things this year, and to be honest with you, I'm not even sure what they are, but I think they're beautiful. And
I think that's a cordyline.
Is it a cordyline? I don't know. I kind of feel like they should be saved. I would hate to jerk those in December.
You know, it's one of those things. It's a gardening risk worth taking. Try to save it. You have nothing to lose. And look at this colocasia.
Yeah,
so tell me
beautiful.
about.
This is variegated. Joy Adams, who does a lot of it, she does the window pots for me as well. Brought these in and just kind of. She said, I have a surprise for you. And it was a beautiful surprise in May, and that these all popped up and gorgeous.
And look, Stuart, can you look at how beautifully the light comes through the backside and the color echo there is with the golden foliage behind it. And what is this? This is this a datura?
It's like a minty yellow green.
Its name escapes me. And then you've got some caladiums that continue with this large-leaved thematic that you've got going here. And some New Guinean patience. And then another, you also, like me, like lots of golden chartreuse in your landscape. So
I think it's so pretty in the background of the color.
Yeah. And illuminates a kind of a dark space, what could be a dark space. So what's over here?
This is another variegated tropical that was planted this year as well. And then,
an oak leaf
of course,
hydrangea.
You've got your hydrangea
That's
here.
Beautiful. That might be a ginger. And
yes,
then,
I
speaking
that's what
of
it
ginger, we are very gingerly walking on Phil's lawn because he just recently overseeded in Oklahoma. Fescue really gets stressed out in the summertime from our intense heat and our very dry conditions. And so most of us who try to grow a fescue lawn, if we've got too much shade for Bermuda, we have to overseed.
Right.
In the fall is the best time. And you have done it perfectly. You have top dressed.
Right.
And then put some seed down and then maybe even covered the seed
yard
itself.
The yard is tough because it's so disparate. I have areas that get lots of 90-degree direct sunlight, and then some areas that get none. So it gets a little patchy later in the year, but like we were saying earlier, we had a pretty good summer, so I didn't have as much fescue die off as I normally do.
And I think Phil is a designer at heart, and I think you would agree that the lawn really is the canvas upon which all of these other things play. So if your lawn doesn't look good, it makes everything look less than its best. So that's really, really important. Now you have edged in some stone here, and it looks like you don't have a creeping grass, so you can just edge pretty easily up against the stone. And I'm somebody that loves a good bit of algae and mold that grows that grows on stone, the patina that provides.
Yeah, the rocks do look really, really pretty and very aged.
And then back here, Stuart, if you would show just down to the street, another kind of living fence of just heavenly bamboo nandina that you have. I love the way you have really kept it at a certain height.
Yeah, when you top the nandina like that, it tends to kind of almost waterfall over.
Yes.
And it does make it. They get a little wispy. I've got some in the backyard that are a little wispier than this. These of course, because they're in the front, I tend to trim on these a little more.
But they're beautiful, and the thing is they give you a sense of privacy, but it doesn't in any way obscure the vista down the street. And I love that privacy, but also with some open air sensibility to it. So this is just really fabulous. Now let's walk back towards the front door, and this bed line really brings you around to the front door, but as do these pavers. So let's come back over here as if we were coming to greet you at your front door. Now this is a very personal question. How do you have an aggregate drive? We live in a historical preservation area, and everything has to go through great scrutiny before we can do anything to really mess too much with the historic integrity of our homes.
You're right. This would never pass. This was done, grandfathered. This was done before, I believe, it became an historic.
Because I love the look of it, and
so do I. And
I'm
trying to maintain it. We've had to patch it a little bit this summer, and so I'm going to come back and do it again and stain it properly. But I'm trying to take care of it because I think if I lose it, I'm going to have to go back with regular concrete.
But it so matches the Tudor style of your home. Now, let's talk about what you've got here on the west side. This wonderful alley of crepe myrtles, and talk about absolutely beautiful trunks. Yeah, these are as smooth as glass, Phil.
No, they're beautiful. Crepe myrtles, it's funny the way people treat them in Oklahoma. They come in and they just dehorn them down to 6 feet.
Crepe murder.
Yes, I just think it's terrible. And so I try, they can grow to be beautiful trees, and for what probably, I think 20 years ago we had a lot of die-off from really, really cold snaps, and we've been fortunate we haven't had that, but I like to take them up. I like to keep the canopy high.
Yeah.
And I do. I think they're beautiful.
And these, I don't know if you know what variety, but they bloom pink. Stuart, if you can show, there's a hint of pink at the top. And the added perk is they turn a beautiful color in the fall.
They do.
The foliage is absolutely gorgeous in the fall. So they truly are an all-weather, all-season plant in terms of their interest. Really beautiful. And then at the base, and you are such a good steward. I love the fact that you're such a good steward of all of your trees and your landscaping in general. Stuart, if you could look over it, look at how beautifully, if you could pan and see just how beautifully this maple has been pruned. And as an aside, it's also, speaking of all four seasons, in the winter time, tell us what you do around Christmas.
When I'm hanging?
Yeah.
I get kind of nuts with Christmas lights and wrap this thing. I've wrapped it from trunk to tip before. I haven't done that recently, but it's a beautiful tree to wrap.
It's breathtaking. I mean, really, the entirety of the trunk is very closely wrapped.
Yeah,
and
it's tight,
just
really pretty.
And may I also say, without a hint of tackiness, it's absolutely beautifully done at Christmas time.
Good, thank you.
It illuminates the whole street. So here's another, I think, brilliant kind of solution. As always in our neighborhood, there's activity going on across the street, some stonework. Our old houses are always needing attention, aren't they?
They are. I think when you buy a house that's 70, 80 years old, it's almost a responsibility.
It is.
You've got to keep it up. And so I always tell people that if you're going to buy a home this old, there's always something to do.
Yeah, it's definitely a historical obligation, but I have to laugh because now our houses are going on about 100 years old.
Yeah, they are. This one, she's about to have a birthday.
Yeah, so let me show you also over here. I'm kind of, I guess, very rapidly moving from one topic to another. But this is a great solution for when you need an easy care, low maintenance ground cover. This variegated liriape is just a perfect solution. And this is also a wonderful example of the rhythm and repetition of certain design elements across an expanse. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these absolutely gorgeous crepe myrtles, all pruned in the same way and all underplanted in the same way with this variegated blooming liriape and with stones circumscribing the liriape. So it is just a brilliant example of how you make it look neat and not messy and have lots of interest, and again, a degree of privacy on the west side of your property. And a great solution, too, for a very hot exposure.
Yes.
On the west side.
You're right.
Okay, so let's now, I guess we've got to at some point talk about your window boxes.
The window boxes I inherited, they were here. And we've been playing with different types of plants. The window boxes on the west side of the house get significantly less, believe it or not, hot sun than this one here on the on the west side. The east are a little more in shade.
Yeah.
And again, Joy Adams does these for me, and I don't know, I just think they're charming, and I love the way that the ivy hangs down.
Yeah. And it's got particularly on the facade with the Tudor, it looks very German or very, very European.
It does.
And it's fun to see them change over time. How do you water them?
I do have those hooked up to so when this zone comes on, this line will go ahead and water all of the ones on. Again, I used to stand here with a hose and spray the whole house down, and this has been much easier.
And then you got smart. Now, appointments are everything. So tell me about your light fixtures. Are those gas light fixtures?
Those are gas lamps. When I moved in about 12 years ago, there was one-time gas lines coming here. They had been removed and there was nothing there. And I had just gotten back from New Orleans and saw all the gas lamps there. These are made by a company in New Orleans that actually, if you go out there and you see all the gas lamps here, it's a company called Flambeau. And I ordered those from that New Orleans company, and then had the gas lines redone and put those out here.
They are absolutely incredible. They are just one of the most unique features of your home, and I love the layering of places that you have visited and how it informs the style of your home and the intrigue of your home. So I tell you what, let's do this. Let's walk this way. There's so many interesting ways we can go that it's hard to select one. And I'm going to apologize to everybody here because the light is going to get kind of harsh, but nevertheless, hopefully you can still see what's going on. One of my favorites, and probably yours too, is foxtail fern.
The ferns are beautiful.
Yeah, the ferns are just beautiful, and they take up lots of real estate, so you don't have to have tons of annual color here for interest. And
easy to grow. Nothing really bothers them.
Easy to grow. We get this question a lot in my yard. Stuart, if you could really focus, and here while I'm down here, I'll do a little weeding for you. I won't charge you for that. Hey, Kenny. There is some mondo grass here that is really, really beautiful. And then you've repeated some of this variegated liriope.
Right. Yeah, I've just pulled some in and just kind of pulled a little bit into the landscape leading up to the doorway.
And the other thing that I love about all of this is not only is it beautiful, beautifully done, beautifully designed, but it's also extremely pollinator friendly. So you've got lots of pentas here. On the opposite side, you have some angelonia and some salvia phoenicia, so you have a lot of pollinator action going on here.
Lots of bees, lots of hummingbirds.
Yes. And then, oh my gosh, you have a ginkgo.
I have a ginkgo fetish.
You do.
Yeah, bad. I think I added 4 more this summer. I joked with you, I'm starting to look like a hoarder in my garden. I need to stop. But these are just exquisite specimens. I've never seen anything like it.
Is just...
The caliper on these.
Can you show Stuart just how?
These are butterfly ginkgos, and they'll stay rather compact like this in this almost kind of ball-like form, with very little trimming.
And the ruffly nature, the ruffly blue-green leaves.
Just absolutely beautiful.
Now, does this suffer any scorch or anything?
It hasn't, and it like I was worried about it, and this one actually has done the best of the ones that I've put in, because it does get right here some really
good
hot,
light,
direct west sun.
And then you've got it kind of juxtaposed against a beautiful, this is very popular in our area, a blue atlas cedar. You've got a weeping one in front in that bed, but you've got just a very beautiful statuesque one here. And I want to point out something, because it's, again, you are such a good steward of your garden, such a good horticulturalist. Look at how high you have it planted, because they really want good drainage.
That's
it
right.
almost sits above soil level.
They will get wet feet and die.
And they really need good drainage. But the other thing I love, like just this little glimpse, if you can capture it, Stuart, of that flame through the lens of this Atlas cedar. It's those kinds of little glimpses into your design that I just absolutely adore. Plus, again, this looks very European. It looks very Germanic or something. It does.
I think it looks beautiful with of course, the European design of a Tudor home itself.
Oh, absolutely. And it also, that kind of blue-green, blue-gray also echoes the same kind of color palette, just slightly, that's in the ginkgo. And then these beds kind of round up and lead your eye beautifully to your front door.
And my dogs.
Hey, sweetie. Hello. Stuart, say hello to the little puppy.
Hello.
That's Miss Kitty and Hobbs.
Oh. But you, like me, you have wonderful garden jewelry, or what I think of as house jewelry. So you've got your house number on your mailbox, and it all speaks the same language. It's all that metal wrought iron, along with your wonderful lanterns on either side. And you also have a little bit of a fetish, I've noticed, for jade.
I do. I like jade a lot. I've got jade bonsais, and this wandering jade is beautiful too. I've got a number of that in some pots at my home that I have at the lake as well.
Now, I'm marveling at the fact that you have a jade which doesn't need a whole lot of water in here with some impatiens.
Yeah,
that you have really struck.
This was an experiment. It worked, actually. We just kind of stuck that in there to see if it would work.
Okay, if you guys, this is worth the price of the ticket. Just to see how unusually you have used a jade to cascade over the side. And you know, when you're planting something like that, you don't even have to plant it upright. You can plant it on its side, and immediately it starts cascading over the front of the pot. And look at this just glorious textural ensemble in here.
The moss is probably my biggest pride and joy.
Oh, of the
of anything that's in this corner.
It's just, it's absolutely gorgeous. And talk again about a perfect example of every texture imaginable. You've got a bold leaf here, the delicacy of the fern, and then the strappiness of the mondo grass with the short dark needles of the yew, and it all comes together with the organic mossiness of the stones, and then another ginkgo.
Guess what?
Yes, another ginkgo. So as a tease, I want you all to know that we are, because I know you're going to ask me, so let me answer right now. Yes, we are going to be doing Phil's backyard, but we're gonna save that for a little bit later, so some work can be done in the back. But look at this beautiful gold-tipped ginkgo.
This is unusual too. This is something that John got for me about 5 years ago. This is a dwarf elm. And so over the last 5 years, I've been trimming and shaping and kind of coring out the inside. Everything I get, I look at it and say, I wonder if I could bonsai that. And so I've been shaping this guy too over the last 5 years, and it's really starting to get a little heavier, and you'll start noticing the cork bark effect on the lower part of its trunk.
This is one of my favorite things to do, and I often demonstrate it on YouTube, Phil, is how to limb up and expose the branches of a tree and expose the architecture. So it's one of the reasons I find your garden so appealing. It also gives you places then to underplant. But just imagine what this would look like if it were solid all the way to the ground. It would just be another shrub. But this way there's a play of light, and oh my goodness, the maturity of that trunk.
Yeah, and that'll continue to just kind of climb up and get gnarled, and that cork bark effect will continue to increase.
There's such a complexity to your garden. I mean, it's beautiful as a whole, but individual components that synergistically work with one another are just magnificent. And it's really, it's not only a beautiful design, but it's a wonderful plant collector's garden too.
Well, textures are maybe just as important as color.
Yeah, I'm always beating the drum for texture and form, and it matters so much more to me now than color. I find it eminently more appealing. And then that's a tease to go into the side yard. And look at how mysterious, and there's very much a New Orleans look to this too, with the draping. Is that Boston ivy?
It's
probably?
Boston ivy.
Boston ivy, and how it comes down, not unlike what Spanish moss would do. And then so many of us in Crown Heights have these plaques of when our homes were built. And I love that. And as I recall, this wrought iron work was already here when we bought the house, because I think I helped design it.
Yeah, nothing. Oh, really? Oh, that's. I didn't know.
Yeah, that goes back a long time, but wow. I think I helped design that.
Yeah, nothing's changed there. I think, as a matter of fact, the trees that were back here, all the trees that line this walkway to the backyard, were also here.
Yes,
dogwoods,
dogwoods and Japanese maples.
That's right.
At one time, there were lots of azaleas back there. I don't know if they're still there or not. But then look at the stepping stones here, and how he has mondo grass planted, and then a wonderful vista from both directions when you look at that magnificent maple. You know, one of the appealing things about our neighborhood is that we have mature trees.
Yes.
And mature large trees in Oklahoma are in and of themselves a rarity, because I've often said that even trees in Oklahoma are considered annuals.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, winters, ice storms butcher them.
Yeah,
heat,
windstorms. So the fact that we have mature trees enhances, I think, the historic qualities to our older homes, and is the perfect accompaniment to it all. And then in the center, and we'll kind of end on this note, you have yet another beautiful columnar.
That's right.
Ginkgo right here. And the shape of that leaves, there's some symbolism to that.
Well, I grew up in Hawaii, and I saw, as growing up there, I saw lots and lots of ginkgos before I even realized what they are or what they were. I think the leaves on them are very beautiful. They look almost like a Japanese or Chinese fan. They're absolutely gorgeous in the fall. They turn a brilliant canary yellow.
Yes, yes.
And what's fun about them too for gardeners is they lose their leaves all at the same time. So within about 5 days, they all drop to the ground. You rake once and you're done.
And you're done.
Whereas this guy,
it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. So they're beautiful, and I love them. They're considered living fossils. They're one of the oldest trees on the planet. They're impervious to disease and
I'm surprised that we don't use them more.
I am too. They line the streets of Manhattan. And so if you go to Manhattan, you see them everywhere. And, if they can survive and thrive there, they can certainly make it in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma, absolutely. And vice versa. If they can make it here, they can...
Well, that's probably true.
They can make it there. It's absolutely beautiful. And I love the fact that I'm huge on signature touches. And definitely the expression of these beautiful ginkgos in your landscape is just a marvelous...
Thank you.
Very individualistic signature touch. I absolutely love it, and I love you, Phil.
Thank you.
For letting us do that.
You.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we will be coming back for part 2 to show you, oh my gosh. Well, you want to give us a little hint?
I've got some ginkgo bonsais back there that I've had for 30, almost 40 years, some of them. I have another thing that I really, really enjoy is I'm a koi hobbyist, and so I have some beautiful fish that I'd love to show you.
Yeah, it's dangerous for me to come here because I'm a topiary aficionado, and I see now all of your bonsai, and I already feel
you want to
swell of interest. Yeah, I can already feel that with my love of pruning things up. And container
let's do it.
Plants.
We'll get some.
Okay,
we'll get
will
some
you
going.
give me lessons?
Absolutely, I'd
love
to.
That would be a great video. You guys give a thumbs up if you want Phil to give me videos. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
So boy, do we have a big show for you today. I want to give you, of course, more updates. Hopefully you're not sick of them yet, but more updates on the front yard. We're really starting to make progress, even more progress, and so much progress that I'm beginning to see, I think, some light at the end of the tunnel. But then the tunnel continues into the backyard because the backyard hasn't even been started yet. We're going to start talking, I think, a little bit about my design vision for the back area, the back living room as I'm thinking of it. A lot of our friends came home from the greenhouse. I was so happy to see them and welcome them home. I'm going to show you how I've got some of them outside, how I'll be styling them, but also how I've styled some of them inside. And then I want to give a great big welcome to a new little friend of ours. At the other house, we had that concrete bunny, and here at the Storybook Cottage, I've got Frida the frog.
Oh, Frida.
Frida the frog has come to live and be, and can you be a guard frog? Not a guard dog,
absolutely.
but a guard frog?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, Stuart, what do you think? Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, Stuart, there's nothing like the scent of good manure in the morning to kind of get you started in the garden.
It's
I
fresh.
know, I'm serious. I actually like the smell of it. Okay, one of the questions I get most of all is what do I use for mulch? And one more time, I like to use this Happy Grow Landscapers mix. I get it at Lowe's. It's just a little bit over $4 a bag. Some of you have said you can't find it, and my recommendation would be just to go to your Lowe's and ask them if they can get it for you. And another tip is that both this landscaper mix and these pavers, of which I am going to get more, I just went online, ordered them from my local Lowe's. I got 40 bags of this landscaper's mulch, and then I just had them put it on will call. And I obviously can't fit 40 bags in Dot of conditioner in my tiny little Fiat. So I had somebody go pick it up in their truck, and all they had to do was already paid for. It was at will call. They just picked it up and they brought it back to me. So that was very easy. Another tip when you're spreading mulch is to slit it down the middle of the bag like this, because then when you dump it out, it doesn't get caught up in the corners. You can work from the corners out, because all too often that mulch will get trapped in these little corners, and it's hard to get it all out in one easy fail swoop like this. So I'm putting this down all over the garden, and I cannot tell you how happy I am to finally be at this point. And I'm going to put it down about 2 to 3 inches thick. And I'm going to show you another trick that I'm going to do. And some of this I'll come back and thin out a little bit and spread it a little bit better. I could do this with the rake. I just kind of always, I can't resist getting my hands in it. And I love the way fresh mulch smells. Now this has a consistency of kind of almost like a fine pine. And I love it because when it gets rich, when it gets wet rather, it looks so rich and healthy. And it can really work like a sponge to trap in the moisture. And that is so important right now because, Stuart, we need rain so desperately. And I think it's the thing I am most concerned about right now is that we haven't had any rain. So I talked earlier about these stepping stones. You can see them here. I placed them a little too far apart.
A little bit of a hop there you had to do.
A little bit of a hop. But I have spread these out farther than I will normally because I've got to get more of them. And when I get more of them, then the distance between steps won't be so distant. They'll be much more close together. So I'm going to continue to do that all around the garden. Now you can see here how beautiful it looks. I don't know, Stuart, do you think maybe they can see the contrast?
Oh yeah, you can see
between
where
the sprinkler has gotten it and where it's still dry.
I think so, yeah.
And how beautiful it looks when it gets moistened. Now these pavers, and the inspiration for the pavers came because they used to be stepping stones that wound around to the back on the east side. And then you may recall, if you've been following me, that I incorporated some of them into
we did a whole loop there.
the whole loop. and you're standing on the same stepping stone. But I incorporated them into the border here on the south side with both brick and those pavers, and I love the way it looks, and I love the cadence of that. And then by adding them as stepping stones throughout the garden, it repeats something that you see here. Now, these are going to largely be obscured. As soon as everything grows up, you'll barely be able to see them at all. Only I, the gardener, will know where the magic stepping stones are. And likewise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to order a number of these online. They're $2.08 a piece. I will determine about how many I need as I work through the garden laying the mulch. And then I'll just order them online, and I'll have somebody with a big old truck go and pick them up for me. Something else I wanted to show you, and I think $2.08 is relatively inexpensive for the utility they will give me in the garden. Now I could have used flagstone, I could have used different things, but that would probably be a little bit more expensive. And again, I'm not introducing another hardscaping design element. Now, after I get all of this mulch in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to broadcast, this may sound strange, but I'm going to broadcast some gravel, some pea gravel. And let me see if I've got what pea gravel I'm going to be broadcasting over here. So here's some pea gravel, okay? And once I get my mulch in place, now I could do this beforehand, I'm gonna do it about in a 50-50 ratio. I could mix it beforehand, but I don't have the gravel yet, and I wanna go ahead and get my mulch in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna broadcast the gravel when I get it over the mulch, and the reason being that, number one, I like the way that looks, and I alluded to it earlier as my gravel mulch, and I think I created the impression that it was going to be mulch in its entirety in gravel, but no, it's going to be a mixture of this landscaping mix, and you can see here where I've already put some of it down. Here's a better example here, Stuart, where I mixed it about 50-50, about 50% gravel and about 50% of that mulch, and it looks really pretty. Now, why do I like that? First of all, I like the way this looks more than I like the way just the plain mulch looks. I have also found, anecdotally, that I get a lot better germination for seeds that I sprinkle, and speaking of broadcasting, seeds that I broadcast or will allow go to seed when I have some gravel mixed in with it.
I love calling it broadcasting.
Broadcasting, yes. That takes you back to your roots, broadcasting roots.
I have a degree in broadcasting.
Yeah, yes. Well, this is just another type of broadcasting.
It is.
So I love the way that looks. I like the fact that the seeds, because I've got some cleome, I have, what else do I have? Some Verbena bonariensis, I have some white gomphrena, and that leads me to my question of the day. I'm going to be sowing some of that in these spaces and in the areas in between these perennials that I have planted. This is a pink coneflower. But that leads me to my question of the day. So Stuart, we were noticing when we took the thumbnail for this video that when you stand down on the berm at the bottom of the terrace looking up, how gorgeous this purple looks with that chartreusey yellow.
You want me to go down there and
of
show
the
them?
sunshine ligustrum. Sure, why not? Go down there and show them.
There's a new way that I go down there, if you remember.
Okay,
you got to
1,
snap me down
2,
there.
3. And here we are. And look how beautiful this purple salvia looks with this sunshine ligustrum. So what is my question of the day, you ask?
That's a good question.
And the question of the day is, should I continue with this color scheme for the summer? Is this kind of chartreusey yellow and this purple? Obviously, ooh, I think I just swallowed a gnat, Stuart.
Hey, they're protein, right?
But obviously, I'm going to have some pink in the pink coneflower, and also in the pink apple blossom roses. This is
Where's
a
that?
carpet rose. Where are they, you ask? Well, they're not here yet. But they're going to be here. They're going to be here in clumps. And carpet roses are going to be here at the nexus of this border and this border here of brick, and hugging kind of in another kind of blooming mounded way. These are going to be placed in threes along the south side of this border. So it will almost give the appearance of them cascading down. So I guess I think what I'm going to do is, for additional annual color that I plant, and I don't plant a lot of it, I'm going to stick with the purple and the chartreuse, and then perennials will mostly be pink. Pink will largely be injected through the perennials. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we did was I decided that I wanted to keep, obviously not all of it because of the roses and the boxwood, but I did want to keep a good bit of this turf here. So I've been digging out, because this was a pretty weedy area, I've been digging out the weeds on this hill, and I'll continue to do that. And then we put down some Milorganite, which is a granular organic, the best of Milwaukee sewage. But it's like crack cocaine for your grass.
Right, yeah.
So I've sprinkled it all along here, and hopefully pretty soon these Bermuda runners are going to go crazy, and this will be filled in short order. I am hoping. It would really like it if it had a little bit of rain to go along with it. I get over here, Stuart, and I can't resist. I want to keep pulling weeds.
I'm sure there's people watching that are
So I think
hoping you are. Will.
there's people watching, so I need
that want
to
you
be
to pull
careful.
that want you to pull the weeds.
Pull the weeds. So, but this will then continue this look up and down the street. You can see that big mound of clay is where somebody's having an irrigation system put in. So it will continue this look, but it will nevertheless still have my signature look.
I caught a wind tunnel over there. It got windy on my mic.
It got windy on
Just
your
'cause
mic.
It came around the corner where the wind was.
Yeah, okay. little wind tunnel. And then down here I've done pretty much the same thing. I've top dressed it. There were some channels down here that we had to fill in. But you can see how great these runners of this Bermuda are, starting to run over the bare spots. And then I have the donuts in place to water these trees, because this section down here does not have irrigation.
Okay, did I miss the donut episode?
I don't think so. I think Kayla's guys put these donuts on to keep these watered.
I don't know. So how does it work? I'm curious.
Okay, they fill it up right here with the hose, and then underneath here, I don't know if you can see,
Oh, okay. It
there
just
are
drips
little
down.
outlets, yes.
And gravity does all the work.
Gravity does the work,
Look at
and
that.
it just slowly dispenses water over time. You'll often see these in parks and in public spaces.
New to me.
Because again, this area for these oak trees, these are Nuttall oaks, this does not have irrigation down here. I do, however, almost have a completed irrigation system. And my, Stuart, I have to say, look at how pretty that looks on the upper terrace.
We'll take a moment.
With the white and the purple and the yellow. I really love it.
It's come along a little.
It's come along, yeah, just a little. Just a little. Think back to when the front porch was still red.
I'll tell you what, I'll put up a picture.
Put up a picture, but
to show
think back,
what it looked
yes.
like before
to when the front porch was
Linda
still
got here.
red, there was no social patio.
And then now.
And then I have, because I wanted this boxwood village here, I may be repeating myself, but for you new subscribers, or those of you who are new to the channel, you'll note that boxwood balls, boxwood villages are part of my signature touch. And I wanted this boxwood village to kind of spill down to these urns. And what also began to spill down and erode was lots of the dirt that they were planted in. So we mulched them with this brick. And someone was asking me, am I too concerned that that brick will really heat up and give residual heat? Well, at a certain point, if I'm worried about heat and any kind of residual heat, I think reflecting back off of the sidewalk or the brick or any hard surfaces, then I basically could barely have anything in my garden, because this is a southern facing exposure and there will be lots of reflected heat. But these boxwoods are all ones that I transplanted or brought from the other house. This guy is struggling a little bit, but I'm hoping it will come out of it. Though it didn't help this morning that I saw a dog come and pee on it.
That's an issue.
It's an issue. So that's that. You can see over here, that's just a few. The irrigation trenches are all closed off on the east side. On the west side, they are still open. We've got just a few more lines to run. And then we'll close that off, and I'll start mulching and putting stepping stones through here, and I will be thrilled. Now, this is an experiment I think I alluded to earlier, but I'm going to point it out again because I'm so happy to see. Look at all this new growth on these blueberries. Isn't that just fun? And there's some little blueberries on here. And this is coming up behind the candy butterfly blooming in purple. And some of these plants have been rather traumatized with all of the foot traffic through here, but we had to get them in the ground. Anyhow, I think this is gonna be pretty, and I've got a little drift of these rabbit eye blueberries from Southern Living that kind of go through here. And I think when they flower and when they set berry, I think it's gonna be very sweet and part of that elegant and edible landscape that I like so much. Okay, speaking of
Very berry.
a number of you, well, you know what, Stuart, let's take a little break and then let's come back and I want to talk about my new garden journal. So a lot of you asked about the garden journal I have coming out. I believe it will be out in December, but you know what? You can pre-order it now on Amazon. It's a 5-year journal that is going to be a companion piece to my book. It's just I think the best thing I can say about it is it's so common sense. It will give you places to record all of the kinds of information that we like to record. So for example, I would take note of how many pavers that I bought at Lowe's and at what price point and when I bought them and when I laid them down. The source for my Happy Grow mix, what all of the plantings are and when I planted them. But what I love about it also is that it's a nice keepsake. Not only a record of this new garden, but it'll be a nice keepsake for me to pass down to my boys. So be on the lookout for that. You can pre-order it now and just look just go to Amazon and put in Linda Vater Garden Journal or just Linda Vater book, and it will come up along with the Elegant and Edible Garden. And like I say, they match each other perfectly stylistically. And I love the fact that it's going to be illustrated with line drawings of things that are kind of iconic to my garden. So I'm excited about that. But I digress, Stuart. Let's get back to the garden and what has now, by just massive, overwhelming input from you guys, we are now dubbing Lemon Lane or Linda's Lemon Lane or something to that effect. I love alliteration, and I love the fact that you guys thought Lemony or Lemon Lane was also the appropriate name for this passage that will go all the way back and then lead around to the west side of the house. So now all of the stepping stones are in place. It just needs to be, mulched. And then I'll be planting other little darlings amongst the Miss Lemonabilia and the Lemon Lime Nandina. And by the way, if you guys were asking, I think recently Milo's at 38th and May had a bunch of Southern Living plants, including white wedding hydrangea. So some of those that sometimes are a little bit harder to find, they've got right now. So I'll be adding more color to this. I'll be waiting for some spread and some coverage, because right now the thing I like least is it looks cluttered and it looks very, very piecemeal. But that will change as everything begins to grow and spread. So that's kind of what's going on up here, Stuart. I think, let me see if there's anything. Oh my goodness. I mentioned the other day that I got the window box or the window box liners. So these are metal liners. When they arrived, they were not drilled. But Stuart, if you can show the followers that now they are drilled at the bottom. And again, these kind of liners aren't inexpensive for a window box, but when you think that I had my last window box for probably 25, 30 years, and the wood lasted that long without rotting, then you can see why they are such an important investment to make up front.
It's that whole idea. You save money in the long run.
You save money in the long run by doing it correctly. The guys are going to come back on Monday to put the trim on it, because there'll be another piece of trim on it, and then I can start planting. And what I'm going to do is they'll put a layer of gravel on the bottom to give me good drainage. Then I'll probably use lots of just garden debris that I've got lying around. Maybe some extra, I've got pots that have used potting soil in them that's not diseased or anything. Put that in here again to reduce the amount of expense in getting them filled. Then I'll put in new potting soil with some slow release fertilizer, and then I'll get to plant them. And I need to start doing that soon, is picking out my seasonal color for what I want to put in here. I'm seeing lots of lantana, some euonymus, and some tough plants. I had thought about putting this Burning Love, Lacothea, or however you pronounce it, in here, but
Hunka Burning Love.
Hunka Burning Love. But when I checked the tag again, and also I think one of you followers also maybe pointed it out, I think this is going to require a little bit more shade than it will get in this box. So I'm going to have to think about my thrillers, my fillers, and my spillers that will all come cascading out of this box. Some will be ever enduring and hopefully will last through the winter. And then I'll have winter interest in addition to really dramatic seasonal color. Now, speaking of winter interest, I had, and this will be a nice segue for us to go to the back, Stuart, but I had lots of small pots of boxwood that used to be on my boxwood theater, if you recall, from the other house. And they were getting too big and I wanted to put them in the ground. So I am just putting little dollops, little boxwood dollops in between all of these deciduous shrubs. So you'll see there's 1, 2, 3 boxwood dollops right there in between the agapanthus and the butterfly bush. And this will give me evergreen structure for the areas inside this grid, in addition to the boxwood structure or the evergreen structure that I'll have in the winter, that will come from the edging and from, for example, some of the evergreens like the Fire Chief arborvitae that I have out there. It may be that as winter approaches, I think, oh, I need to add a few more evergreens or something for winter interest, but I can easily do that while it's still in the early stages of growing together and becoming lush and full. You can see there's another one over there, and this was a way that I could reuse, there's one there, that I could reuse some of the things that came back from the greenhouse or that were in my potted plants that I already had. Again, reducing the expense and giving me some more evergreen structure in the wintertime. So Stuart, what do you say? You want to go to the back?
I bet so.
Let's do it. Okay, Stuart, come to the back.
I hadn't been over here, so I'm sure they hadn't seen a lot
Oh,
of this.
down, yes, down. I've got a nice concrete pathway that comes down the west side of my house and into the back. Now, it is a mess back here. A mess. There's just stuff everywhere.
Linda hasn't been to my house. And that would see what mess really
There's
is.
stuff everywhere. But I did bring home a lot of my old friends. So
There they are.
Look at my geraniums that are in sore need of
Familiar faces.
deadheading. Look, there's some olive trees back there. I've got, this is some of my boxwood that I have showed you before. That one may or may not make it. Again, it's cool today. It's cool and breezy today, but it's really been
Not that.
not that recently, which has me just so worried that we're going into a drought. So this is just all mayhem. This is just stuff that will find a place as I begin the landscaping in the backyard.
What is
We've
this
got a
funky looking
Eugenia topiary down.
Uh-oh. What is this funky looking guy right here?
This funky looking guy is a snowflake oak leaf hydrangea that I brought from the other house. Again, it was in my contract that there were certain specimens I was going to be taking. And this is one that I've had forever, and I need to get this in the ground. It's going to go on the east side over here.
Snowflake goes with snowball.
Snowball, but then I just had, you know, just other things. I've got my elephant bush, my pineapple guava, some of the Little Miss Figgy, lots of this dragon wing begonia, some of which may or may not go in the front window box.
Coming that way, got to get past
Here's another
the beautiful
Miss
rosemary
Figgy
first.
here. Yeah, and so you can see this is just
Okay,
all.
hold on. You said some stuff. Let's go
Yeah,
back
yeah,
to it.
dragon wing begonia.
There we go.
And I've got lots of hydrangeas that still need to get in the ground.
And we did get some terras?
We did get some terras. They're probably hiding in the shade. So I promise I am going to make sense. Hopefully you have faith in me that I can make sense out of some of this.
I got faith in you, Linda.
You've got faith. So our next major job, once the front is pretty much finished, in addition to doing a rain dance, Stuart, is these steps are going to be rethought out because they're way too steep, they're not practical, and I need to rethink them. And so this will be the next project that we've got going in the back. And then I have shared a little bit with you of my vision of, look at this gorgeous Eugenia topiary. These will probably be moved to the front once all the chaos is over with, but boy, did they like being in the greenhouse.
It looks really happy, yeah.
And these do not overwinter, but I've had these for 5 years now, 6 years, and it was weird for me, Stuart, because I drove by the old house, and typically these are positioned out front in the front yard, and I kept thinking, okay, something is missing, and then when these came back from the greenhouse, I thought, oh yeah,
Yep,
that's what was missing. Their statuesque presence in the front yard. So back here, I just have decided I've got so many projects going on indoors and out that I just decided to, up until now, not to waste a lot of energy on just rearranging all of this clutter. I've just decided to put my blinders on. And that's been pretty effective for me so far. We did. Again, if you are new, please subscribe. Please like this video if you're finding it interesting, seeing a garden started from scratch. Make sure to tell other people about it. But when we bought this house, there was none of this latticework paneling above it. And I just love the way it looks. It's one of my signature touches. And I love being able to look through it and into the back. So if you were looking where I'm looking right now, you could see that there's some beautiful iris in bloom.
Ooh, let me get closer.
I don't know if you can get those.
Oh, you can see 'em
one
now.
of them is blown down, but there's some beautiful, interesting color, purple/rust iris.
There they are.
And then when I sometimes say the garden will tell you what to do next from a design perspective, this is an example of what I mean. So the tree through here is a redbud tree, and it was so beautiful when it was in bloom. It's still beautiful now. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna do another copycat of something similar that I did at my other house. How beautiful would it be if I have a redbud planted on the opposite side of my fence
Would look
over
good.
here, maybe even one on the corner, eastern redbuds, and then I will have that wall of purple in the spring. And I think it'll be absolutely beautiful. My jury is still out on a small greenhouse. I've got so much research to do, but I am thinking about it. One thing I know for sure that I'm going to do, or that I'm going to postpone for now, is I thought that I wanted basically a flagstone and gravel dining deck. And my table would be right in the center of this dining deck. And it would be like an egg lying on its side, a big oval that would lie on its side. And then the periphery outside that egg oval would all be flower beds. And I still see that egg. But what I think I'm going to do, because this has such a good stand of Bermuda back here, is for this season anyway, I'm going to leave all of this Bermuda in place. And my dining furniture is just going to be on top of it. And yes, it might make mowing a little bit difficult, but this will be a very small area to mow, so not overly challenging. And it will be a test. It will be an experiment.
You always told me, yeah, before you had the turf at your old house, you're the mower.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
You don't have somebody else
I did
mow.
all of my own
You're the
mowing,
mower.
all of my own edging. I wouldn't even let Hubs mow, or my boys. I was so particular.
I'm sure they were real mad about that too.
That may
Like,
or
oh,
may
man.
not be the case over here, but that's what I'm thinking now. Is I will have a green, large, egg-shaped throw rug in the middle. This is where the dining table will be, and then around the periphery, that's where I will have big blooming shrubs, maybe a climbing rose or two. And then over here, Stuart, it kind of looks like a junkyard right now.
I think a lot of people would like to have this junk.
Have this junk. It's great junk. It's great, a lot of it thrifted junk. And this will get arranged because I'm thinking, at least for the short term, that this is where my geranium theater is going to be. And I will style that.
Oh, the
and
theater.
Of course, I'll bring you guys along with me to kind of get this a little more attractive looking. But what I think I'm going to do here in this area is where I'm going to have some raised beds, maybe some gray galvanized, watch your back, Stuart.
Thank you.
Gray galvanized metal raised beds.
Teamwork.
that I can grow some veggies. And of course I'll stall them in what I think of as a Linda Vater way, but they will be raised beds here. But they'll also be mobile, so I can kind of decide what I want to do with them. That's my thinking right now. And then again, the periphery will just get all sorts of plants and things, depending on, so today, a number of you have commented, Linda, is it always windy there?
It looks that way, doesn't it?
Well, it does look that way, and but remember, Oklahoma is a windy state. That said, it is the talk of the town that it has been so windy this spring, especially windy this spring, and it is April.
Yeah.
So it's an especially windy time of year. But today, at least, it's cooled down, and I'm happy for that. So that's kind of my vision. And then a number of you also, this kind of equates back to the front. A number of you asked about why didn't I put French doors in here to go from inside out, from the great room out here. Well, number one, expense. It was extremely expensive to do that. And then I also liked and then it would have also messed with, okay, so the steps and all of that and the expense of the steps, but also Hubs and I came up with what we think is a brilliant solution that we will love, and that is this will be transformed into casement windows this fall, which will crank out. We'll be able to open them. They will look old. They will look the vintage of the house, and I think I'll really like that. And then I still have this real estate over here, which I would not have if there were French doors with big steps coming down. I'll be able to have this real estate for gardening and for, I don't know, for some kind of vignette.
For gardening.
We need a little fire pit out here. I need. This will be torn up. I need a surround for all of this utility stuff over here, and this will pretty much be transformed. But I started to say earlier that a lot of that might be how quickly the back goes might be dependent on the weather. So if it looks like it's going to be a really, really brutal summer, I'm running out of that window of time. You know, in Oklahoma, there's only 2 seasons. There's before the heat and there's after the heat. And we're running out of time in that season before the heat. So I think that this year, it's the weather that's going to dictate whether or not this garden begins to go in the spring or in the fall. I can certainly work on bed lines, I can work on these steps, I can work on infrastructure, but in terms of doing a lot of planting, that may be delayed until fall. So does that make any sense, Stuart?
It makes sense. It's a little sad, but it makes sense.
It makes a little sense. Again, it will depend on the weather, but it'll be so fun to plan. And I'll have more than enough to keep me busy in the front at the cottage on the hill.
The process will be fun.
The process will be fun. Stuart, we haven't been inside for a while, and I will be doing more updates inside later, but let's, you want to close out just with a little glimpse into how some of these plants are being styled inside?
Yeah,
let's do it. Stuart, before we go inside, I want to show an interesting little tidbit. Now, this is why I love you guys so much. So I found this piece of china.
Are you about to say somebody matched this?
Yes. Somebody on Instagram sent me a picture. Let's put it up here, Stuart.
Okay.
Because they said, I think that is this china. And I am just slayed at the ingenuity and resourcefulness of all of you and how you are motivated to track that stuff down. And it's so dear of you then to share it with me. You guys are just the best, and I appreciate the heck out of it. Okay, now let's go inside, Stuart. Well, I
always look forward to my plants coming back from the greenhouse in the spring, and I especially miss, while they're gone, the presence of my beloved olive trees. I have small ones like this one. It's just a tabletop version. I think I got this one at Trader Joe's, but you know, Stuart, I saw them recently at Home Depot. So they are available this time of year. I absolutely, I just love them in small form like this as tabletops, but also in larger form like this one. I have 2 of these, and this has been overwintering in the greenhouse. I brought it back, and I think it's going to do really well, even inside over the summer, because this is such a bright corner.
It looks good over there.
And it's in a faux concrete pot that just perfectly filled in and slipped into this basket that I got at a thrift store for $10. And by the way, I saw a similar one to this at an antique store the other day, and it was $65. So I really feel like I got a good deal on that. But I love the way it fills the corner, and I love the way it's repeated over here in front of the diamond windows. Now, a couple of other styling zhuzhes that I made to this area. As I've lived in this house for a little bit longer now, we moved here at the end of December, I'm getting more practical ideas about how to use the space. And that informs me about small things and large things. But one of the small things was I realized that I really wanted a purse and a hat rack right here. And I liked...
Man, I could use
You could use that, and it's so practical. If you have a dog leash or something, you could hang it there right by the front door. But I also like it because it's in this buff brass look, and it looks kind of like jewelry underneath the painting. And some of my favorite hats that I like to wear, I can just hang right here, put them on as I'm walking out the door. You guys saw me wear this one the other day.
My dog would love the idea of a leash hanging there, I bet.
She would get frisky every time you got near it. Yes. And then this is one of my lattice work plant stands, or plant cages rather. I call them gilded lily cages when they first came out, that I got off of QVC. I can't remember if they're still available or not, because this is where my husband can keep, he's got some of those walking sticks, those portable walking sticks, so when he goes hiking and things like that, where the ground is uneven. At any rate, we can keep them right there by the door. Very, very handy. And then I decided also that as much as I loved this area in the wintertime and basking in that southern sun, I nevertheless wanted to springify for both the warm weather, summer, and so I changed out. I had some velvet pillows here before, and I changed them out for some of these great plaid linen ones. I got these at Mockingbird Manor, and they look a little bit more summery. And then I accentuated it with some blue things, and nothing is more wonderful than blue hyacinths. I got these at Trader Joe's, and I'm no spokesperson for Trader Joe's. It just happens to be the store where I can get the most kind of things in the shortest amount of time, because I don't like to shop. Something else that I got. Oh my goodness, Stuart. Oh, these mocha covered almonds. You may have to have one. They are not only delicious.
Probably shouldn't chew on them.
But they're very healthy, and it just kind of transformed this corner into a little cozy space. I had someone over the other day, and in fact, you may remember Chelsea. She was the one that just walked up to the other house, and she ended up being in one of our videos. She's getting ready to move to Germany. Hi, Chelsea. And she came over the other day to tell me about her plans, and we had tea sitting right here, and it was just so pleasant. And it always is more pleasant when you have a few goodies. And then this is some of the Veronica that I cut back, that I am hoping will take root so I can spread it around. But even if it doesn't, it is just another punctuation point of green on this table, and I love that. And then I decided that even though I had this statuesque olive tree here in the corner, looks looks very Gianetti home if you follow Velvet and Linen. Nevertheless, I wanted a little bit more greenery, so I just put a fern here on one of these campaign tables that I bought online, and undoubtedly people will want to know the link to this, Stuart, so we'll put it in the description box below. Excuse me. And by all means, if we forget, which I seldom do, to put the link in the description box, please just let us know in the comments and I will add it a little bit later, or add it in the community tab. These are things that we really have to remember to do because we don't have a huge support staff.
We're shooting this on the fly, y'all.
Surrounding us. Speaking of fly, this is another way we know that gardening season is here, because look at the size of that fly.
It's Frank.
How did it not freeze out? You guys, you get nothing if not the real world on this channel. So on that note, Stuart, I think we're gonna wrap up this show. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there with us. Lots more updates coming this week. We're gonna be a little bit later in the week, I'm hoping to be back in the kitchen and a little bit more interior design updates. But for now, what do you say, Stuart?
My mouth is full, so I can't say much.
So you can't talk, okay? Then for both of us, bye-bye. Thanks for hanging in there with us, and until next time. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our Sunday show. I am here with a glass of wine, yes, on the social patio. Do we have a fun show for you today? I think I told you that I kind of felt like the front yard was finished a while ago. Well, the infrastructure was finished, but I sure had a lot of perennials and other kinds of seasonal color that I wanted to plant. I did some shopping, and in this episode, I'm going to show you some of the plants that I picked and introduce another whole area of the garden. I told you about Lemon Lane before. Well, let me introduce you to Autumn's Edge. And then after we do that, wait till the end, because you're going to get the full reveal of what it looks like in its finished, let's just call it finished state. A garden is never finished,
yeah.
But for right now, other than a few tweaks and a few more little details that I want to execute, I would say I'm going to call it done. And I am very thrilled with the way it turned out. Some grass still needs to be filled in and things still need to mature. But Stuart, we definitely need to put up a before picture and an after picture. Yep. In fact, there have been a number of people who have driven by today and commented on that very thing. So if you are new to this channel, welcome. Please subscribe. Make sure that you give us a thumbs up. And more importantly, if you think there's somebody out there that might like to keep company with us in this channel, then please make sure to share, send them our link. So Stuart, what do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. When you are working in the garden, it is helpful to kind of divide your garden into different workspaces so that then you feel as if you can just work that manageable space before moving on to the totality of the whole garden. Well, I do the same thing in mine, and today I am working not in Lemon Lane, but I am working on an area that I have dubbed Autumn's Edge. Now, why have I done that? Well, it's really not just for affectation. It's because I am thinking that this is the area of the cottage garden that will really shine in autumn, more so maybe than other areas of the garden. And part of that is inspired by a plant that will be absolutely spectacular in the fall, and that is the October Glory maple that is grounding Autumn's Edge. And then what I did was I came in and I planted
with Southern Living plants my Autumn's Edge infrastructure, and I want to quickly go through those because now that they're in, we're going to do something fun. We're going to take a little visit over to Breck's Nursery, and I'm going to get some perennials that will also be planted in that same area. But let's look first at the infrastructure, then we'll go buy some plants, then we'll come back and plant them. So here we go. Number one, I've started with the tree, my October Glory. Now, to me, nothing is more magnificent in the fall than orange rocket barberry. It's absolutely gorgeous. It looks beautiful right now. I mean, look at that foliage. It's kind of coral. It's also kind of a dark maroon color, and then it has a tendency to change in the fall. And all of us gardeners, even though we're in the height of spring right now, we're still thinking about seasons to come because we want to get those fall plants in the ground before the heat so that they can then really get established and look magnificent in the fall. Okay, so that's my number one. That's orange rocket barberry. Now, number two is Fire Chief arborvitae, and you can see that even though it's green underneath, when it starts putting out new growth, and sometimes as it ages, it literally gets fiery on the edges. So this is Fire Chief arborvitae, and I love the textural contrast between the two in addition to the color echo. Third, I love the abelias, and I think that it is probably one of the most underused categories of plants. Now, in addition to being spectacular in the fall and having good textural interest in cohesion with one another, it's also important that they really are tough and can handle this brutal exposure. So look here at this kaleidoscope abelia, another fabulous color echo in this Southern Living plant triad. So look at the stems on that. Can you see how it's kind of orange there, you guys?
I'm gonna come in closer. I just wanted to show all three of them.
Yeah, I think it's just beautiful, but look at that orange stem. And this provides another color echo, particularly as it grows and these stems get longer with the orange rocket and the Fire Chief. Now, some other shrubs that I think really kind of play a secondary role in this montage, and those are what I think of as really infrastructure plants that hold it all together both in spring and in fall. So over here we have the magnificent, tough as nails sunshine ligustrum, which this time of year is just a brilliant limey yellow, but it'll turn a little bit more gold as fall approaches. And then lastly, one of the most stalwart plants that you can have in your garden, and that is Obsession nandina. It does not berry, but boy, look at that gorgeous foliage that it puts out in that maroon autumnal color. So these are the infrastructure plants that I've got for Autumn's Edge, in addition to a few others that I will show you later when we come back to plant. But Stuart, why don't we just take a break here and let's go get some perennials to kind of fill this space out.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what's on my list? What am I going to be on the hunt for Autumn's Edge? Perennials that will look brilliant in the fall, but will also be gorgeous in the summer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find these there, but these are some of the things that I've got on my list. I'm looking for Gara. It's got that kind of whirly bird. I can't even remember what the common name is, and that's my question of the day. What's the common name for Gara? I can't remember. But it has that fluttery, hovering, bouncy quality that I like that will also be absolutely fabulous with the rest of the other pollinating plants up here at up on the upper terrace. The other thing that I'm going to look for are more penstemons, particularly if they have kind of a maroonish foliage to them. Anything that will enhance the purples, the deep maroons, and really communicate fall. I'm going to be looking at some gray foliage plants. I'm not sure what exactly, but I'm going to be on the hunt for them. And then basically I'm just going to keep my eye open for anything that is kind of in this palette. I'm also going to be looking for some tall phlox, which will be spectacular in the summer, and sometimes I can get it to rebloom in the fall. So what do you think, Stuart? Let's just head that way. Okay, you guys, let's do some perennial shopping. I'm here with my buddy Sean at Bricks on 40th and Classen. If you guys have followed me for a while, you have been here with me before. So Sean, today I'm looking for some kind of specific things, but then I'm also going to keep my mind open because I'm thinking about the future and about some plants that I want to get in the ground now, but that will look fabulous not only in summer, but also in the fall.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for a couple things. I'm looking for penstemon. Do you think you've got any, or penstemon, however you pronounce it?
Yes, we've got the Husker Red right over here.
Okay.
And it's actually blooming right now in its full glory.
Okay, I'm looking for probably some succulents maybe, and with kind of a reddish cast.
Yeah, well, we've got a ton of different succulents. So we've got a big group right here and then another group on the side of the house.
Okay. Gara, do you have any Gara?
We are fresh out of Gara. We have probably sold 1,000 plants of Gara this season.
My gosh.
I'm serious. I mean, I bought so much Gara and it's all gone. So we are in the middle of wrangling some more Gara.
Okay.
Hopefully within the next week or so.
Okay, and the nice thing about working with small purveyors like Sean is he will let me know when he gets that Gara in, and I can just run down and pick it up. And then I'm also kind of looking for some tall phlox.
Yes, we've got some tall phlox, some garden phlox.
Okay.
In a pink, I think right over here.
Okay, well, I will take a look at it. Don't mind us. We're just going to look around.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Stuart, let's do this. So you guys know that I like to mix my edibles with my ornamentals, and on Autumn's Edge I'm not going to be putting in any basil, but if I did, this would be a wonderful option. This is purple ruffles. You guys are probably familiar with it. I'm actually going to do some basil up front, but it's going to be in a different form, but that is glorious and would really be beautiful as part of my color montage that I'm putting together. Just love it, love it. I'm going to have to come back later, Stuart, and just get some herbs. Okay, now I'm seeing some sedums here that have a look. This looks like it's two different varieties, but this has that purplish cast to it. Okay, this is Sunsparkle Dazzleberry sedum. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Hold it steady for a sec.
Isn't that gorgeous?
It's really, yeah, wow.
That is really beautiful. So this is one variety that he's got. And then, what is this? Is this the same thing, or is this different? Okay, this is different. This looks like it's taller, Purple Emperor sedum. So this is beautiful too, but what is striking my fancy, I think, is this first one, because it will kind of trail. And the thing about this kind of sedum is I typically don't get a lot of it because I can just always pinch off sections of it and stick it in the ground, and I can increase my inventory of it that way. I think I'm gonna get maybe a couple of these. I'm gonna make sure I get one that looks really good, happy, and full. Sunsparkle Cherry Tart, and this is Sunsparkle Dazzleberry. So let me see. Is there a tag here that shows the difference in the color? Because I want to get the same ones. Cherry Tart. Look here. This is the color that I want, so I may just have to get one. Let's see what this is. This is cherry tart. Aha! Score! I found 2. So on my list is Sun Sparkler Dazzleberry Sedum. So I love that. And while you weren't watching, Stuart, I found a Husker Red Penstemon. I might have to get 1 or 2 more of those. Now, typically when I buy them, I typically buy plants in odd numbers, 1, 3, or 5. 1 if it's just kind of a specimen plant. 2 if I want to flank something on either side for symmetry. But for me, most of the time, when I'm planting in drifts, I look for odd numbers. So in this case, I'll probably be mostly either getting 1, 3, or 5, depending on how rapidly I think they'll spread and how big they'll get. Okay, now I'm not going to get any coleus today, but this would be absolutely spectacular with the vignette that I'm creating.
Wow, that one's cool.
I mean, aren't these just fabulous?
Hold on, that is amazing.
Yeah, and the thing about this is it would look fabulous in a modern garden. It would be gorgeous in the fall, but also it has kind of a contemporary feel to it with lots of color echoes. And now in the fall, I could come back and incorporate some of this.
Linda,
look at this little
is just one of
sweet
the coolest plants I've seen.
I know, it is. It's very fun, isn't it? There are
that one and this one.
There are so many different varieties of coleus.
This is just insane.
And as you guys know, I don't have to tell you, it can propagate so easily. So I may or may not be getting some coleus, but that's not what I'm focused on today. I'm trying to be...
Can I grow that inside?
You can grow it, yes you can, in a bright sunny window. You can easily propagate it, and we have shown how to do that before. We might need to do it again. Now I'm not going to get any of this because I already have some. But this is that wonderful Joseph's coat. It can be kind of hard to find, so I want to point this out if you are on the hunt for some. Now here's another plant, again, that I'm not going to get, but I want to point out some gorgeous combinations for you guys. This is an annual. This is a petunia. What does that say? It says Sweet Tunia Fiona Flash. And that color is absolutely gorgeous. And what a wonderful color echo that would be with the striations and the markings in the center of this petunia with the rest of these plants. I think it would be absolutely gorgeous if you are putting together a container. But again, I need to quit showing plants I'm not going to plant and maybe show some plants that I am.
It's probably helping everybody.
Okay, I just can't seem to get away from these beautiful color combinations. Look at that purple. Now this is an annual salvia, and I want to point it out because it can really handle the heat. And you could go a couple ways with this. This deep purple would be more of a monochromatic look, but for a fall or a summer combo, that would be gorgeous too. And again, this is really tough. If you keep deadheading it, it will bloom all through summer to frost, and that is just an annual salvia. Most of my annuals that I'm planting, for example, this Scaviola, I'm planting a little bit closer to the places where I will travel and where I want real punches of color. Here's more coleus. Okay, I'm seeing something on my list. Okay, so this is the tall phlox. In contrast to creeping thrift that I had at my other house, that emerald blue that cascaded over the side and bloomed in the spring, this is a tall phlox, super kapow fuchsia phlox. Again, this is something that, let's see.
I get there a little late sometimes.
Sorry,
That's my
okay.
fault too.
So this is absolutely gorgeous. And by the way, these are grown locally at red dirt in Guthrie, and this one, Greenleaf, is also here in Oklahoma, and you can already see a hint of the coloring to come. Now, a lot of times what I will do is see what color I want and what it's going to turn out to be, but that's not necessarily the plant that I buy. Sometimes the best plant to actually get established in your garden will not have any buds on it yet, or the buds will be small. What you want to make sure is that they are not too root bound and look like they have been really, really cultivated well. So I think these are gonna be just fine, and I am gonna get 3 of these. And my goodness, they all look so healthy, and none of them look the worse for wear. So I'm just gonna get some that I think are really full. I am going to, this one looks like a good candidate, and I think I'm gonna get 3 of these, and look at this beautiful combo. Isn't that just beautiful? And you can see how this color palette will just be spectacular. And again, everything that I am selecting is tough, 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 and can really handle that exposure. And will be really gorgeous with all of the Southern Living plants that are already there. Okay, I see something here. I may come back for it, but it would be gorgeous in the garden right now. Look at that purple skull cap. And it looks like, oh, that is really, really gorgeous. 6 inches high, 10 inches wide, and it takes full sun. So I think I'm just gonna keep my eye on it. This would have been brilliant for the window box as a perennial. So I'm gonna just remember this. I'm gonna keep this on my list, but we're gonna proceed. Now here would be another candidate that I would buy if my friend Gail Wynn had not already gifted me a bunch of it. And I have planted all sorts of starts, because starts of asters that you get established now will be really, really wonderful in the fall. They will bloom in late summer. They've got this purpley color, which I think is just brilliant. But then here is something I am not familiar with. So these are just Woods Blue Aster, but something else that might be quite spectacular, and something I am not familiar with, is Katie Ruella dwarf Mexican petunias. Now, I'm familiar with Mexican petunias, but not the dwarf variety. And for that space, only dwarf would do. So this, and I kind of like this pink. The white I would like for a different time of year, but again, because it's got this gorgeous color palette that matches what I'm going for, I think this might be brilliant. So this is Rowelia. This is another red dirt plant, Katie's Dwarf Pink, full to part sun. And let's see how big this is going to get, because that's a consideration. Plant in sun or part sun, 15 to 18 inches, grows 10 to 15 inches tall. Okay, so I think that is probably a pretty good scale for what I want. I'm gonna get, and because I also believe in trying new things. And they only, looks like, is this pink? Looks like they only have a couple of pink ones. So I'm going to diverge from my normal buying in 3s to 5s, and I'm gonna get a couple of these. My cart's getting full, Stuart.
It's a good thing.
Okay. Let's see, what have we here? Oh, some pink Stoke Aster. I'm not going to get any of these, but these are really, really beautiful. I had some established at my other garden, and they did great for years, and then they kind of faded away. Now here's something else that I probably need more of, but I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna let this, I've got 1 or 2 planted from my friend Gail. I'll wait and let this go to seed. And this is just the standard Magnus purple coneflower echinacea. So that's more of the common variety, but probably my favorite. Well, this is not going in the autumn corner, autumn's edge, but boy, this is a spectacular plant, and I might look at this for the back. This is sugar tip rose of Sharon, and why it catches my eye, I am not normally a rose of Sharon kind of gal, but I love the foliage on this. Look, it even comes with its own ladybug, Stuart.
Oh wow, free of charge.
Free of charge. It even comes with its own aphid eater. But this one looks really beautiful, and even though it's not in flower, I love that flower form. So can you see that?
We kind of did.
Yeah, love that. So I am going to put that in the back of my mind, maybe for the backyard. And then there's one other plant over here that I've heard about, Stuart. We're going to close on this one because I haven't seen it, and it's a Southern Living plant. Ooh. Now, in addition to the perennials and annuals that I've discovered here, they also have some absolutely gorgeous shrubs. They've got fabulous topiary. I'm putting myself on a topiary sabbatical, Stuart. I can't have any more right now. But I did want to show you this because this is one Southern Living plant that I did not get from my front garden, and I'm having some regrets. And this is stunning. It's the Summertime Blues Chase Tree. But the thing that's brilliant about it is not only is it for full sun, but it is compact. It's 5 to 6 feet high and 4 to 5 feet wide. And most chase trees or vitex that we are familiar with are far larger and really are small trees. But look at that wonderful, wonderful color. I just love it. And when it's in bud form, it's equally as beautiful. And the color of the foliage is just brilliant. I love it. I may have to find a place somewhere for this vitex. I think this is a new offering. Well, Stuart, I think we're going to end there because we've got some planting to do. So I'm going to settle up with Sean and we're going to head back to the cottage. Okay, so I've got on my favorite Cool Jobs gloves. And now I'm going to go ahead and get these in the ground because it is perfect perennial planting conditions. It's overcast, it's cool, we might have some rain on the horizon, and this is just the kind of weather that these perennials will want to get established. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one in, and then I'm going to show you kind of my design philosophy for placing the other ones before I plant them. So true to form, Sean went the extra mile and he found a couple of gar that he had in the back. I'm still waiting on a third white one. But I will love the way this white fluttery flower will look up here on the terrace, particularly with these blue flowers. And it very much is part of the thematic that I have for this area. Now, when you plant a perennial, this is just kind of basic gardening. Most of you already know that, but in case we have some new followers or a new viewer, please make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and of course, and most importantly, share with others who might enjoy this content as well. Okay, so there you go for my little commercial. Now, typically I do when I plant a perennial, even though when we amended all of this soil at the top of the terrace, I did incorporate lots of organic matter. I'm nevertheless going to put another handful of this Espoma Biotone Starter Plus in here, and I'm going to mix it up in the hole so the plant doesn't sit directly on top of the
fertilizer in case of root burn. Now sometimes I'll use Osmocote or a slow release fertilizer, but what I've done is dig a hole that is 2 times the diameter, the width of this pot, and then I'm going to plant it so that the top of the pot is level with the top of the hole. And today, as I've said before, the soil might be just a little bit too wet to plant. Ideally, it wouldn't be quite so gummy. But this is one of those occasions where I'm just going to work with what I've got. And I'm just going to come back in here and backfill this with this yummy soil. This good rich dark soil. Now I'm not putting any more compost in here because this soil has already been amended. And I'm going to apply some gentle pressure to that. And in this case, I am going to keep the plant tag in here for a little while. This is Belezza White, and I'm going to put that down into the hole so you really can't see it, but I will know it's there. And then Stuart, while I'm doing this, if you would kind of show, kind of at eye level, you can see how the colors of these are starting to merge together. And how this montage is going to express itself in the summer and in the spring. So where I have placed the others, I won't make you guys stay around to plant them all with me, but I've got another white Dagara that I'll be placing there. And then the other ones I really just wanted to be in drifts. So if you notice, as we progress from west to east towards autumn's edge, the foliage starts becoming darker and richer and more purpley, or kind of a cardinal color, i.e. the colors of fall. So in here, I have placed some of the tall phlox, and I've got them in a drift. I should get out of the way, I guess. I've got one there, and one there. So this is going to be kind of a drift that you will see moving from west to east, kind of cascading down. And of course, I always can relocate them slightly a little bit later if I so choose, but hopefully they'll be where they are and they can get established, and then I can just divide them later. I've put some more of the penstemon. This is Husker Red. The other variety that I had was Dakota Burgundy Beard Tongue, which is also the common name for it. And it has more lavender flowers. So I think the 2 tones of the foliage is beautiful, but again, all in the same tonal range with wonderful color echoes. So I've got a drift here, I just got 2 of these because I already had 3 of the other penstemon, so that keeps me in my odd numbered flow. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's another one over there. So that makes 5. And then I've got, because I always think you should try something new, I've got my Ruella right here. And I think it will, I'll just plant it rather closely together so that it looks like one large tuft, since I typically don't plant in 2s, but I'll plant it close together. So I have a large, strappy kind of mound in here, and I think it'll be beautiful. And then lastly, you guys might want to know, and some of you earlier in the design wanted to know if I was going to have any sedums, and indeed I will. And it is going to be on the side underneath the maple, kind of cascading down the edge. So I've got a gallon here, and I'll probably
place another gallon in here somewhere. I'm not 100% sure on that because I want to make sure that it doesn't get in the way, get shaded out too much, or covered up by the roses and the cotoneaster that I have planted. That I will talk a little bit more when I give you the entire finished product. Now I've got another kaleidoscope abelia that I found that had kind of been hidden in the back, and I think I'm going to plant another one here to harmonize with the existing ones and with the barberry. So I think it's going to be beautiful when it all comes together. Stuart, what you say we maybe go down on the sidewalk and give a view of what it will look like from sidewalk level when you look across the surface of the upper terrace. But I think it should be really, really beautiful. I'm going to enjoy it this summer. I won't be able to wait until fall, but now is the time to get them in the ground. So as you're doing your perennial buying, when you're on your perennial shopping spree this year, remember that you want to think about not only what the garden looks like now and in the summer, but what it will look like in the future, in the fall, and in coming years. Okay, Stuart, right here is where we need to do the big reveal. First, let's put up what it looked like before we moved in, when the landscape was barren of nothing but grass and there was no landscaping in place, no trees, no color, no shrubbery. It was pretty much a blank slate, what I wanted when I moved from the other house to this sweet little cottage. And I think it's pretty transformed. So I want to review a little bit about what we did in the evolution of this whole space. We had to re-concrete the walkway. We then had to float out the steps and the porch to make sure that it was all harmonious. We put in lots of brickwork. We made a grid on the upper terrace to delineate between the perennials and all of the, let's call it cottage garden elements on the upper terrace, as distinguished from the rolling terrace, which is nothing but grass. Now this side here, I'm going to concentrate on the grass for a minute because I'm kind of proud of it, even though it hasn't filled in completely. You may recall that I had this kind of existential thing about the grass here. To keep it, to let it go, should it exist? Should I completely remove it and put in new sod? And I decided on the former. So what I did was kill out any kind of weeds that were here. I literally, with a dandelion digger, I dug up lots of the weeds. I then came back in and we top dressed it with some really good rich mix. I didn't even have to overseed. But what I did do was take little pieces of sod from the east side along the flagstone patio going to the back. I stole a little bit from Peter to pay Paul. Yay. And I patched a couple of areas. There's still some crabgrass that I need to remove and it needs to fill in, but look at all of these wonderful runners that are starting to take hold along the edge. Now I know that for a lot of you, Bermuda grass is not a boon, it's a bane. But I promise you, in Oklahoma, it is tough. And it's the toughest kind of grass that I could have here on this facade, which is in the strongest heat, sun, brightness. It's on a slope, so water drains off. So I really needed it to be extremely, extremely tough. And I think it's going to be just fine. Now, Stuart, if you would, because I'm equally as proud of this area here between the sidewalk and the street. You may recall that there was hardly any turf here at all. There were no trees. We installed the trees and I think they look beautiful. Am I anxious? Am I anxious to get these posts off? Well, that is an understatement. I very much am, but I'm also trying to be very diligent. I think one of the best comments you guys have ever given me, I've taken so much advice from you, and that was when someone suggested that I paint these in black or in a dark color so they would recede. And that was just brilliant, brilliant advice. I did that on this side, I did it on that side, and you can see that with the exception of a couple of areas, this turf has filled in beautifully.
It looks the best probably right
And
here.
certainly all of this rain helped. Now this is an area that once it starts getting very hot and very dry, this space is not irrigated. So in short order, probably, I would say in July, this will probably, if we don't have sufficient rainfall, this will start to kind of turn a little bit brown. And I'm okay with that because that's just the nature of an Oklahoma summer. But I will make sure that I continue to water the trees. Now, this leads me to, I know I probably asked a question of the day in the previous segment, but Stuart, let's do another reveal of the entire landscape, because here's my big question of the day. What do you think? Did you have faith in me that I could maybe produce something here in relatively short order? We didn't move in until December, so let's do a countdown, Stuart. That's December, January, February, March, April, and part of May. So that is how long it took to create this, certainly with the help of Encore Azalea and the Southern Living Plant Collection, and lots of my friends and even followers who donated some plants for the upper terrace. So I'm really loving the way it looks. And now let me introduce you to some of the new players in the landscape. So when I was showing you that marvelous, fun, very fun reel mower, a lot of you keen-eyed viewers noticed some new residents of the cottage on the hill. First and foremost, probably the apple blossom drift or kind of cascading roses, ground cover roses that I alluded to. I'm gonna love these when they put on buds. And when I planted them, they had no buds at all. And look, they're already starting to put on some tiny buds. And before too long, these will be profuse in bloom, and I think will be spectacular, framing not only the entryway up to the porch, but also framing the edges of the property on the east side and a little bit on the west side. So I think it will be really spectacular. As a reminder, these are in a pale pink and white, which will then harmonize beautifully, I think, with the purples and the whites and the blues, and will very much be that English color palette that I like. Now, this is something that some of you commented on, and quite frankly, it was a decision made after I did some soul searching, checked my budget, looked 100 times at the landscape, and decided if it was an investment I needed to make. And I'm sure you guys do the same thing. And I decided that for this property in the front to kind of feel finished to me, it wasn't going to feel finished until I had a really strong, supportive, grounding element here on the west side. Consequently, I decided to come in with another really large Nellie Stevens hollies. Now, we planted this about 2 weeks ago, which is a little bit later than I normally like to install what I call investment plants of this magnitude, but I'm so glad I did, because subsequently we got really, really great rain, and I think it's going to settle in just fine. So that's a tip. If you're looking at installing something a little bit later in the spring than you normally would like, just continually look at the 10-day forecast and see if it's going to be a rainy stretch of time, so that whatever you put into place can get acclimated. And I'm just thrilled that it is getting acclimated and seems happy there. You may also notice that the urns are starting to fill out,
And now that we've finally gotten some sun, I think all of this color is just going to be profuse and is just going to be kind of like fountains of color out of these urns. I think it will be pretty spectacular. Some of you pointed out, and I agree, that the scale of these on top should be a little bit larger than the scale of those on the bottom. And what I'm going to do, since the pots, the urns are all of the same size, what I'm going to do is just let this profile of the plants in them get a lot larger than the profile of the plants in the bottom. Stuart, does that make sense?
Yeah, and I got a great shot of it.
Okay, so great. So these are going to get really, really large, and I'll keep those a little bit smaller so that the scale will seem to make sense. You may have also noticed that in addition to the drift roses, I decided to plant another couple of anchoring boxwoods, and I'm thrilled that I did because I love the way there is now this. Well, it's not a heart. I'm not sure what this shape is. Half of an egg shape, but I love the way it frames the portal up to the front porch. And I think that's really, really beautiful. Now let's talk about what probably is, I think, one of the best deals ever, and it was on Amazon, but it's a secondary company that sells through Amazon, so I'm happy to support them. I apologize. I think because so many of you guys recognized it to be such a great deal that you decided to hop on the deal just like I did, and we drove up the price. So I'm sorry about that, because when I first purchased these Cranberry Creek boxwood, they're 3 gallons, and look, Stuart, I didn't have to pay extra. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but I have noticed so many. Oh, there's the ladybug right there.
Oh, it'll be gone by the time
It'll be gone by the time you get up there. I didn't pay extra for the ladybug, but I can't tell you what a great deal these were. When I first ordered them, I think they were $43 or $44, and now they have gone up to $59. They were out of stock for a while. Now they've gone up to $59. But can I just say that even at $59, and if you still haven't ordered any, definitely I will put a link in the description box below, because so many of you took advantage of this deal. And there are so many of you bought them and then sent me a private message saying how spectacular the quality of them was. So I encourage you, even at the price point of $59, you can wait to see if it goes back down, but I doubt that it will.
Not after this.
Not after this. But I promise you, this is still a great deal. And this is not a sponsored post. This is just a great deal I just happened to come across, and I want you guys to experience it like I did, because actually not only did I drive up the price for you, but I drove up the price for myself as well.
True.
I had to pay more too when I ordered 2 more. So I think it's such a great deal. There's also, these are Cranberry Creek, but there's also a Green Mountain boxwood, and I'm sorry for spending so much time on this, but I promise you, this is one of the best deals I've ever seen online. They come and they are so healthy. They might be a little droopy because they're in shock from changing locations, but they're a great deal. So I digress, but I planted 2 of them here at the top of the steps. And then later, I planted 2 more of them here. So now I have 4 conical boxwoods that are residing in the middle of my little boxwood villages. And I think they look wonderful, they look statuesque, and they will be prominent and have the visual weight that I want, while the better boxwood that's blight resistant along the perimeter of them grows up and takes hold. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, that will look good.
I think it will look marvelous. And then I don't know, I'm still deciding on how
detailed I want to clip my boxwood, if I want to leave it kind of flouncy, or if I want to give it a really tight profile. I'm thinking about that for the boxwood and a lot of other things that are in the landscape, including the Eugenia. So now let's talk about them. Now, these are what I think of as boxwood doppelgangers. They're not frost hardy. I bought these years and years ago. Stuart, I don't even remember, where did I get these? Was it like at Home Depot or
Sure,
Walmart?
I've heard you say it before, but I don't remember.
But I don't even remember. But I have had these for I don't know how long. And what I did was I just buried the pot in the ground so that when the first frost approaches, all I have to do is lift that pot out of the ground and put them in the greenhouse where they will live over the course of the winter. And then all I have to do is just put them back into place next year, because I very, very strategically pre-positioned where I wanted these to be. So this is Eugenia number 1. This is Eugenia number 2. Isn't that the name of one of the royals, Eugenia? And then I actually have a place over here, and this is going to be a surprise because I'm going to kind of show you how I decide to do it. But I now have in place, because I always like to do things in threes. I've got 1, 2, 3. This will be where the third Eugenia resides once I do some pruning and clipping on it, and Stuart and I are going to do a video for that. Now, they are doing what I really wanted to do, which was provide some intimacy for the social patio. And I think it's done it really pretty well, don't you, Stuart?
I do.
And it provides some visual height. Now, the other thing that you guys have probably noticed is that in my imaginings, my vision of what I wanted this to be, I saw in my head, I saw an umbrella. And originally I had wanted it to be white, but then I saw this one that was in kind of a buff color, and I'll put the links in the description box below because it so beautifully echoes the color of the path, and I love, love the way it does that. I decided to get a crank operated umbrella because it's just so much easier.
Is that faux wood or real wood?
This is a faux wood.
It looks pretty real.
It's actually metal.
Probably
but I
better.
love the way it looks. And here's the deal, because so many of you said it's going to be way too windy up here. Well, the thing is, every night or every morning, whenever it's windy, all I do is just roll it down so that it's not up to catch the breeze and sail across the neighborhood.
It's going to go to Kansas at some point.
And if it's really, really windy, all I have to do is take it out. Now, interestingly, and here's another tip, interestingly, the expense of this composition was not the umbrella itself. The expense was in the base. The base was pretty expensive, and it's on wheels that I can lock. It's very heavy, but I can then wheel it from one side of the social patio to the other side of the social patio, depending on where I want the shade. And I think it's brilliant. I also loved it because look, it harmonizes the texture of it and the profile of it, and the finish of it harmonizes with my little storage container that's a side table over here, which I think I have shared with you.
Well, it's almost like
where
they're the same thing.
Is where I keep all of my just gardening accoutrement. So I've got that in there. My clippers, my scissors, my Cool Jobs garden gloves. I keep those in there for quick access. And then of course I added the table. The window box is just coming along beautifully, and I'm just so proud of it. Let me show you how it's grown up. So a lot of you thought it started out kind of gangly, and I've showed you this before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. But I have brand new baby asparagus fern
tendrils or branches or fronds, whatever they're called, that's starting to project from the base where I cut it back hard. It's right there, Stuart. I don't know if you can see it.
We're gonna find
right
out.
there. It almost looks like it's dead, but that is brand new. So it will fill in this void. And then in the meantime, I also added a little baby sage that a new friend of mine who's just a viewer, Carolina Elizabeth, please let me know your name. She came by when I wasn't here the other day, and I don't know why you guys are so good to me, but she left I don't know how many plants for me, how many starts for the garden, and I so appreciate it. But this is really starting to fill out. I am feeding it pretty heavily because I want lots of color there. And it strikes me how much more color I have in my front yard at this time of year now than I did at my other house at this time of year, because that was more about just structure and form.
Oh, it was greener there, huh?
It was greener there, and it was just more filled in, and a lot of the evergreen structure in the bones of the garden were already mature and already larger. So I have added not a lot, but a few garden ornaments. So let me show you this first. You might recognize these from the backyard at the fairy tale house. These are just wrought iron or metal surrounds. I don't know what else to call them, that I had at the other house. And I love the way they look here. They're heavy metal. I got them from Gardener's Supply. I don't even know if they're still available. But they were one of the two things that I wanted to frame the porch and frame the entryway. And then I do know for certain that these two boxwood I will keep very tightly clipped, because I want them to match the profile of these beautiful surrounds, and I think that'll be beautiful. And then the other thing I did, we can maybe capture it from a distance, is I put that tutor in that pot. That was in my Linda Vater QVC collection. I put it in that pot, and I love the way that the scented geranium from my friend Monica will climb up it. And then I planted some thyme and some calibrachoa, some purple calibrachoa at the base that will spill out. Stuart, what have I forgotten? I planted a lot more salvia. I planted a lot more penstemon and things that I got on our most recent visit to Brex.
There's lemon Lane.
I have planted a lot more foxglove seedlings. You can see I've got some plastic pots that are just now sitting in the landscape waiting for me to plant them. And I am just ready for them to get in the ground, and I'm ready for a lot of the little seedlings that I've planted. Remember, I seeded some cleome, some celosia, some verbena bonariensis, and I am ready for a lot of that to germinate. And at that point then, I'll just be editing out too much. Some Minoan lace. I don't want it to get too thick. I just want it to look like a beautiful cottage garden at the cottage garden on the hill.
Good segue.
Good segue. And one more thing, my friend Klaus Dalby has a new book coming out on cottage gardens, very, very timely. I wrote the foreword for that book. I'm so honored to call him a friend, and we will put the link in the description box below. Stuart's put together a brilliant video to describe how you can find the links and the description box. So Stuart, have we forgotten anything?
Surely, but it's okay.
I'm sure I have. I might be a little tipsy because I'm finally enjoying a glass of wine in my beautiful garden. Thank you so much for strolling along with me, and you guys have a wonderful Sunday.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.